With the world now aware of his identity as Iron Man, Tony Stark must contend with both his declining health and a vengeful madman with ties to his father's legacy. Hey everyone, welcome to Watchers Week, a podcast where we're going to review and discuss all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies leading up to the release of Marvel's The Avengers Infinity War, coming out May 4th, 2018. It's a nerdy show for nerdy people, because that's who we are, and that's who we care about. My name is Steven, and I'm here with my fellow watchers. You know him, you love him. It's Dr. Cosmic. What's up, Doc?
Hey, I'm going to have to ask y'all to exit the donut. We're about to talk about this movie, everybody, and I'm pretty excited.
And tagging along, as always, we've got Tim.
Guys, I know we have some good laughs on this show, but I have some serious news. I just came back from my doctor, and he said that I needed almost immediately more iron in my diet. So I'm so glad we got to do this movie with y'all. Yeah, I'm stoked. You know, twice the Iron Man.
Watchers, this week we're continuing our journey to infinity by talking about 2010's Iron Man 2, directed by Jon Favreau. Guys, what did you think?
Let me tell you, I felt emotional with Mickey Rourke's character, Venko, and I wanted him to get his bird, but what I did not want was his poor acting in the very beginning of this movie. It was a weak opening.
The bird or Venko?
Venko, crying over his dad. It was a weak opening, I thought, but then we get a stronger transition with Tony and the Stark Expo.
I'm just glad that we didn't have to get through this whole villain's kind of like motives with dialogue. It was kind of just him. His dad dies, a little bit of Russian here and there. He's watching Tony Stark. Dad dies, and he does his scream at the heavens, and see that he's starting to build his whips, getting his whips. And I thought that was pretty good. Now we know, just straight off, this is the bad guy of this movie, and he's coming out for blood.
Did anybody notice at the beginning, like Tim said, that it was very little dialogue, but yet when the apartment complex that Ivan Vanko lives in kind of looks like the same apartment complex that Bucky in Civil War lives in? I mean, it's definitely got the same floor plan, no doubt.
Oh, yeah, and the same, railing on the stairs.
Right. It just seems so weird to me. Like, it's kind of lazy for Marvel in Civil War to reuse a prop or scene setup that was used in Iron Man 2, if it is true.
Well, I don't know.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't even notice that. So good job on y'all guys. I think all hallways look the same.
It's a hallway. Yeah, I don't know if it's lazy.
Hallway lives matter. Sorry. It's just all hallways look the same. I'm not...
I guess it's just. I guess it comes down to preference, but I like it when films are able to call back to certain things. I mean, like Tim said, it's just a hallway. We don't know. It did look a little similar when we were watching it. But yeah, I wouldn't mind it if it was, because that's a pretty cool callback. I like it when things come full circle, and with movies even more so than TV shows, because TV shows are a little bit more drawn out, so it takes a lot of time for things to come full circle. But with movies, it's a little bit more satisfying.
Right. And let's not forget that this movie is the first Disney movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
that's right. Yeah. Disney bought him in 2009, and this is a 2010 film.
Is that why they got Rourke? Because his name's Mickey?
Ooh, you could be onto something. Can be onto something. Disney never does accidents. Disney never does accidents.
It's all a plan. I thought one of the things that kind of dated this movie, that's really noticeable, in spite of like the cell phones and everything, like we talked about with the first Iron Man. But one of the things that kind of dated this movie was the suits, like their formal wear suits looked kind of like, I guess I'm so used to modern times where, slim fit suits, and these looked like, late 90s.
If you look at there's a picture floating around the internet of the two NBA drafts, one from like I'm guessing around this time, early 2000s, and nowadays that was just the style back then, wearing kind of the loose fitting suits and stuff like that. So yeah, that's totally a thing. But with the technology, that actually I think improved from last Iron Man movie, because we get to see in the the whatever called Senate meeting or whatever, with Tony and the man, I keep forgetting the guy's character, the one who part of Hydra that we find out later on.
Justin Hammer. Oh no, I know who you're talking about. The senator.
Yeah.
Senator Stern.
Stern, yeah.
Stern. That whole scene when he commandeers the screens with his little touchpad phone and stuff like that. I was like, all right, here we go, getting some new age technology here. So the technology game bumped up in this one.
Right. It's pretty exciting. Plus, we get to go back a little. This is the first movie Black Widow makes her performance in, which is pretty exciting now that there are rumors / confirmations that she's getting her own movie.
Well, it's exciting now, but watching this film again, I was just reminded that me personally, this is just me, I don't want to upset anybody, just my personal opinion, I'm not the biggest fan of Scarlett Johansson, and this movie really accentuated all of the reasons why, or at least it brought back all those memories of her in movies like The Prestige, and I just didn't really enjoy her performance in her previous films, such as The Prestige and this film, namely. I thought she did okay in Avengers, and she's gotten better since then, so I'm sure once we get around to her solo movie, hopefully she'll be a little bit more refined. I mean, she's done so many movies now by when this movie was made and when that movie is released. So What?
What are your thoughts, Tim, on Scarlett Johansson solo movie?
I'm surprised that I can no longer be friends with Doc now. I mean, just for him to say that he's not a big fan of Scarlett Johansson. I mean, Scarlett Johansson, she's just like such a fun, kind of charming personality. I mean, she did a SNL opener that was really good. She's funny, she's witty, smart, and I think she brings a little bit of that to her Black Widow performance. I feel like with a solo movie, we might not get enough Black Widow that we kind of deserve. And I would actually be more okay with a Netflix series or whatever Disney's going to do, their Disney streaming service that they're going to come out with, of a Black Widow kind of series. Because Black Widow is kind of a hero that isn't just a kind of one and done. And her nemesis, her enemies, her nemesis, they're not just they're not one and done either. They'll escape and they'll come back, and we need to have that drama. There's personal ties in there, and I think we can actually even bring some Hawkeye in there, because they have that relationship that we need to know what happened in now I'm forgetting in Avengers, what they say
about her backstory.
No, when they make that quote, and he's like, "You and I remember
Budapest."
Budapest, yeah, or something
Budapest,
like that.
Budapest. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, so we
now,
need to know what happens there. So
That would be pretty cool.
so you're
if
saying
I'm
this
flipping through
is
the
going to
Netflix
be
series when it comes up and I see an episode and it's titled Budapest, uh, like I would be like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is when we get to find out, you know.
so
Yeah,
is
maybe
So
they could make a show and call it Avengers of Shield, or instead of Agents of Shield. I don't know, something like that.
yeah, there you go. I'm done with that.
so little
It's
TV.
not. I don't know. It's not that I don't uh absolutely like disdain her acting, but she's just a little bit robotic. Like I agree in some of the stuff, some of the roles she's had where she's in a more comedic light, she actually does work better. So I don't know. Like I guess it's just her more serious roles where she just seems to act the same. But I don't know. That's just me.
Right. But then again, that's for the Black Widow movie. People came and clicked this thumbnail to see Iron.
Yeah, Red Sparrow. I can't wait till Red Sparrow.
No, that's terrible. Well, also introducing himself into the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Iron Man 2 is Don Cheadle as Robbie.
Yep.
Ronnie?
Rhodey.
I'm him.
Rhodey.
I'm him.
Don't
Get over it.
Don't do my man. Yeah, exactly. I'm him. It's happening. Get over it.
Deal
Let's
with
do
it,
this.
yeah.
Let's move on. Rhodey. Don't do my man Rhodey like that.
I'm sorry.
I'm a huge fan of War Machine. When I was reading comics, I wasn't that into Iron Man, but when I saw War Machine, I was like, this is what I think of when a guy straps up in a robot suit and, you know, takes justice, you know, in his own hands and, you know, being a hero and stuff like that. So seeing War Machine here, finally, I don't mind that it's Don Cheadle at all. Don Cheadle even said that he kind of pulled his performance from Terrence Howard a bit, which I appreciated. They kind of kept the character going. But yeah, I liked when he showed up, and I like him throughout this movie.
Yeah, that's really cool. I appreciated that too, that he was able to, uh, you know, give props to Terrence.
So yeah, at the senator scene, that whole part where we get to see Justin Hammer, he shows up too, and like we have like boom, all these characters that are going to matter, all right here in the first act. This movie's pace is it's quick, but at the same time it kind of feels sluggish because of a lot of setup. You know, we kind of have to find out where everyone is and what's going to happen. But like immediately the next scene with, I think it's the racing scene is next.
Well,
When they
Right.
point out
Well, oh yeah.
I was going to say to point out during the senator scene, Tony says, "The world is safe. I gave you world peace." And really,
oh yeah, that's a good one.
Iron Man save the world, keep the world safe by himself? Is a question I wanted to pose to you two. Do you agree with Tony Stark saying that Iron Man brought about world peace? A heavy question, I know, probably.
I was gonna say we just talked about. Well, I mean, this is happening when Hulk is happening, right? So far, no crazy stuff has happened yet. I think I don't know if he's, you know, delivering street justice like, you know, we kind of see in other shows like Daredevil or anything like that. But I think maybe overall, he seemed to be taking care of the continuing his crusade on, you know, the war on terrorism. And I think in during that time in his eyes, yeah, I think he did do that.
Isn't that what always happens? Is they somebody says, "Bam, son, we got peace," and then boom, a giant green monster comes and destroys Harlem. Just Tony's luck. I think, yeah, I don't think he necessarily achieved peace. I think he was kind of on a high of I'm Iron Man. But what I wanted to say before we move on from the Senate scene is that video with Justin Hammer's test subject, guinea pig guy, is still one of my favorite funny moments of this movie. But this movie has so many funny moments between Justin Hammer, Tony, Kate Mara's character, who I don't think she had a name. She was just a federal agent. And the reporter, Christine. There's so many good moments. I think this movie, out of all three Iron Man movies, probably has the best jokes.
I could agree with that. I could see that. I could definitely see that. Which, you know, I'm sure not a lot of people are agreeing with that, because from my experiences, a lot of the opinions on this movie are negative. Like they feel like this is the weakest movie in the trilogy, which I definitely didn't think that when I first watched this, and I kind of still don't think that now after rewatching it. I think the second viewing, it still kind of maintains my place among the rest of the MCU movies.
Yeah. Well, what I should have said is that this had the best joke, but the biggest joke out of the Iron Man trilogy was the Mandarin. But we'll get to that later. We'll get to that later, guys.
Right. Like Tim said, I think you really do have to rewatch this not only a second time, but maybe even like a third or fourth time to really get what I think the movie's trying to get the message through to you. And I've seen a lot of problems where people just watch this and think it's just an explosion and popcorn flick, but it's really like Tony's struggling within himself because he's dying. Let's not forget that Tony Stark is dying in this movie.
Yeah, this is totally the inspiration movie. Their inspiration for this was Demon in a Bottle, and I think it pins that that whole tone down. And I think no matter your feelings on this movie, this whole racing car scene, because I just want to get to that racing car scene.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Where we get to see Tony, which Robert Downey Jr. He's like, I want to drive the blue one, and stuff like that. He's driving, sprint that. We get Whiplash come in up on the road. We get all these cars flipping and explosions, like Steven was saying, everywhere. And finally, we get to have that kind of like Pepper and Happy kind of helping out Tony, his team, Team Iron Man, helping him out. I thought this whole little this whole racing scene was real great.
Right. What's great about this racing scene is we get to see kind of what's going on through his head, because Tony said to himself, "Got any other bad ideas?" And then he goes racing. So, and I put down like, is he trying to do everything he can before he dies? Because we see that his blood toxicity goes from 19 to 24 to 53 to 89% in like 1 or 2 days. So he's like on the verge of dying, and yet he wants to do all that he can in order to live life to the fullest before he kicks the bucket, which is.
Yeah. I wish I had that blood toxicity like reader for me, like for other stuff, like not just blood toxic, but like I don't know, like how much hype I am for Infinity War or something like that. Like,
I was fixing to say, do you want a breathalyzer? Or I'm just kidding.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's crazy.
Well, yeah, what Steven was saying about the race car scene and how it was a reflection of him wanting to do what he wants to do before he dies. It's kind of a throwback to the first Iron Man in a way, because in the first Iron Man, he's sort of, living the high life, and then he's faced with this imminence of death and how he has to work around that. And so it's the same thing. He's kind of like wanting to do this whole racetrack and, live life to the fullest before he goes. But then, boom, he's faced with an imminent threat.
Yeah, straight off the back too. You're racing your car. You get all of a sudden this dude comes out at you. He's flinging his whips around. You're like, who the heck, who's this guy? And then bam. And then so I gotta admit, Tony held his own without the suit for a good while, and the whole fight, and finally when they get to get the Silver Centurion armor officially. Like, I mean, this is totally straight off. I'm calling this the Silver Centurion armor. It's real great.
Nope, that's not it.
I think that's Steven pulling up a picture.
That's not it. That's it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, this was such a cool scene. Like, when he, the whole briefcase hit flag, like total same kind of feeling you get every time Tony suits up is like the first time he suits up, because from the first time in Iron Man 1, which we said, I totally got that same feeling again, where you just see all the pieces of the suit and the armor just syncing up and attaching themselves, and that like same feeling, but it feels fresh every time too, especially when they putting it in the briefcase kind of like form. That, like, I totally thought that was unique to this movie.
Yeah, I want to break into the Marvel archives and see just how complex this suit was, because it looked flawless. Like, it looked like no piece was missing. Nothing was left out as it unfolded itself onto his body. It was pretty crazy.
It looks great, but what I was thinking about is Tony Stark made himself an easier target for Ivan, because how else would Ivan get to Tony Stark? He was in a jumper suit thing by the racetrack, and yet Tony was supposed to be up in the VIP lounge. But by going down into the racetrack, he was just like, Ivan was like, cool, I get to Skip's,
I think he was gonna find a way, because I mean, he made his way into the race kind of as a mechanic, because that's who he is. He's good with machines. He's kind of on a, I wouldn't say same as Tony Stark level, obviously, as we find out later. But up there to be willing to just, it's believable. Why did we have this Russian guy kind of like flown in? Oh, because he's a really great mechanic,
Right. I think let's not remember that he got his passport and false identity from the 10 Rings.
Right.
In Russia, which is also pretty world building back in for Iron Man.
Yeah, and in retrospect, now that we know we have all three films, I loved seeing for the first time the 10 Rings returning, because I was holding out the prospect of them eventually doing the Mandarin. I just didn't know at the time that they were going to get it wrong. But anyway, yeah, that the prospect of the 10 Rings, they could have made it so much bigger than what it was, and this movie kept the hype going. But then we get to the third movie and it's not so great. But I don't want to talk about that yet. But anyway, but yeah, the Return of the Rings was great, and to see that Ivan Vanko had connections to them really just I guess grounded his character in this mythos. The only thing that I have a problem with about his character is when he's, he puts on his little whiplash suit, he's got his whips, he's whipping around the racetrack. Where did he receive his training? Like, people are getting upset at Doctor Strange because he had maybe like 3 short training scenes using his magic, but Ivan Vanko had no training whatsoever. He was just like a slum dog off the streets of Russia, and
that's true. I mean, like, I would love
unless the 10 Rings trained him. I don't know. He was like pretty tight with them. Maybe they have some whips and they went to get some cattle and they were just like, hey, you're going to whip these cattle 500 times until you get it right, son. And then you get a ring. You might get a ring.
I would love a scene for Ivan to be just like practicing and like failing, and like the 10 Rings like helping along and like giving him motivation. And then he's like, I think I got it. And then he's like, all right, but can you handle 2 whips now? And he's just like whipping like crazy. Just like a short 2-minute scene would be amazing.
Whip those cattle. Get those cattle. Yeah, that was the only thing. I think Tim even brought out at one point that his reaction timing was crazy because he was like superhuman almost the way he whipped those race cars.
Right.
Yeah. This guy's a formidable foe, and honestly, one of I think the notorious Iron Man villains. And I'm kind of glad they brought it out in the second one. Justin Hammer also kind of proved to be a secondary villain in this one, which, if I remember correctly, he was also supposed to be. He was also, what's it called? Auditioned for the role or considered for the role of Tony Stark in the first one, right? So having him kind of be this discount, great value version of Tony Stark in this movie was pretty funny. I really like the way Jon Favreau went with this.
Hey, you watch your mouth. Some of us appreciate great value.
No disrespect to Sam Rockwell, but this character right here, I hope you're staring at the screen, is probably the worst thing to happen to the MCU since anything else on the planet Earth. Like, this character, I hate him so much. This character, Justin Hammer, I hate him.
Well, I think that's the point. You're supposed to hate him. He's like a major douche.
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think he has that likable charm that Tony Stark has, because I kind of think the same of Tony Stark sometimes, is that, he's a jerk, and yet this, for some reason, Hammer doesn't have that quality, that X factor that Tony does.
It's not like I think I hate him so much it ruins the movie every time he's on the screen. But I wanted to talk about, sorry, to go back to Ivan. It's just that one scene reminded me when quickly, Iron Man in this movie, first of all, quickly finishes his bad guys way too soon. He's like, oh, cool, I'm Iron Man now. I'm not just Tony Stark. Bam, bam, you're dead. I mean, you lose. But then Ivan goes, you lose. And he kind of had that whole tactic, the same as 300 did in the DC movies, where if you make God bleed, sharks will come. What did you guys say?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's almost as if the DCEU took that line as a template for their films, because
I think that's a very very common, popular kind of motive for anybody in hero's journey kind of tales, because they're like you were touching on with Tony Stark earlier on. There are points in a hero's journey where they feel untouchable, where they feel invincible, the invincible Iron Man, which I don't know if that line was dropped in this one. I was kind of hoping it would be, but and I think that's the whole, like you said, this is the whole point of Whiplash, is to prove that he isn't as invincible as he thinks he is, and same thing with that Baron Zemo does in Civil War. He finds a flaw within this perfect, what we think is a perfect system, or a perfect kind of character, and they inflict it, and totally unravels the persona, the heroic persona that they kind of built.
Right. I mean, I really would have liked if Ivan was the only bad guy in this movie, and through his wit and skill alone escapes prison without the help of Justin Hammers. But I mean, it does make sense. It would have been weird. Well, he would have just had to have more screen time and more story background for Ivan to be a better bad guy, but he is what he is. He's just a bad guy.
I think they wanted to keep the timetable moving, the timetable in movie, I should say, because I think there's a comic book, where Iron Man kind of does the same thing, where I think he's testing the security in a prison, or he's in prison, who knows. But he kind of builds an Iron Man suit out of random parts he finds around the precinct. Like he grabs a piece of a washing machine because they have him working on stuff. So I could totally see them kind of doing the same thing with Vanko. Is like he grabs a piece from a washing machine and he grabs like, you know, a piece of a cart or something like that, or a security system. And eventually he builds kind of like an Iron Man suit and he breaks out of the prison, stuff like that. So I could see them trying to like them doing something where Vanko kind of like, you know, let's just say, you know, keep it in the same vein, builds an explosive and busts out. And eventually as he's out on the streets, Justin picks him up in a van and takes him. And then we have the whole same scene again. But I think they just kind of like, oh, by the time he goes around the whole precinct and gets all the parts he needs, like Iron Man's going to be like totally forgotten about him, you know, or something like that. And I think they just kind of want to keep it running. And, you know, the whole timetable is centered around the Stark Expo.
The Stark Expo is really great. It's pretty interesting because the last one was in 1974, and I assume that's when his dad died, or probably. Does anybody know when?
Yeah, I would think around that time, probably a little later.
Right. So like probably just before they're opening up the 1975, he died or was assassinated. Spoilers. Which, I mean, I love that scene. I love the world about the Stark Expo, but everybody again seems to not like Iron Man's point of view of it because they think it's him flaming his ego, but it's really trying to keep on his legacy after he dies.
Wait, doesn't he die? He dies. What's the Zemo date that he keeps on saying? December.
1991.
That would be what? Oh,
that's when he dies. That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
December
that's what I was
16th, 1991.
Really?
That's what
16th.
Yeah, 16th, because that's when Winter Soldier kills him.
December 16th. That's weird. I think
Yeah.
Never mind.
So unless we know the Stark Expo was held on December 16th, I mean, maybe it's 1991. Then this movie came out in 2010. So that's
30 years or roundabout.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tony's around that age in this movie.
Probably. Too young to die, that's for sure. But what's great about the Stark Expo is that we also get Pepper Potts, Gwyeth Paltrow, which I totally ship with Iron Man, and their relationship in this movie is amazing.
I think they get. Yeah, I think that's a solid ship there, Steven.
No. Like, I really have a feeling about this, guys. Like, it's gonna go far.
I don't know.
I mean, Black Widow kind of was the wrench in that whole thing, and I'm not gonna blame Tony when she shows up in that whole scene. Like, yeah, I mean, come on. Who can blame him?
I'd blame him. I'm just kidding. I'm messing with you. Then we get to the prison scene with Ivan Vanko. Right. Where he's handed a meal and he thought he got Play-Doh. He really wanted Play-Doh for mashed potatoes, but then he flips it over and it just so happens to be C4. And he's like, ugh, where's my Play-Doh? I want my bird. I want my Play-Doh, but I guess I can use this bomb to blow up stuff.
Right. Let's not forget, unfortunately, Ivan is the start probably of the man bun. He was.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Did anybody see his, what's his name? Hammer's, like, super nasty spray tan all over his hands. It's in the dinner scene. And he's like talking to him. I don't know if it's just the stark contrast of white and stuff like that, but it was all over his hands. I was like, oh, man, I had never noticed that before.
It was pretty disturbing to see.
That was gross.
It adds to the whole, like, kind of, cheesiness of him, the whole character of Justin Hammer and stuff like that. But man, that totally threw me when I watched it again.
Well, yeah, Stark is New York and Hammer is Jersey. It's like this, west east.
Yeah. Please leave a comment down below if you're from Jersey, and we'll make sure to get you Doc's address so you can go
Please don't. Should I have said California versus Florida? Would that have been better? I don't know. No, probably not. Probably not better. All right, I'm gonna drink my drink.
So, what happens after that? The movie has definitely lulls in it. That is,
It's a lot of setup because it's all setting up for the big climax of Stark Expo. It all revolves around the Stark Expo. Even Tony's entire life literally kind of revolves around the Stark Expo. But after that, he shows him the hemorrhoids.
hemorrhoid.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, hemorrhoids. No, hemorrhoids. Which is nicely coined by Tony. And he wants him to get him ready, and that's the whole, and your way to uh, easily tell the audience like what's going to happen in this one scene. Like, oh, here we have this guy given an army basically at his fingertips, and it's just like, great. Well, now we know what the climax is going to be, which I'm sure by the trailer everyone knew what that was going to happen, but.
Let's not forget that this is also. I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but I'm wondering what you guys think of my thought process of Iron Man doesn't really invent anything himself, especially the new element and in Iron Man 1, the first one with the arc reactor. I'm like, is this guy smart? Is he an inventor? Is he a genius? Because all I see him doing is copying ideas off of everybody.
Well, I was going to say the suit itself is kind of inventive, but I mean, even in the first Avenger, Hydra agents are kind of souped up in some kind of exo suit. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I still think the suit is his biggest thing.
Well, yeah,
that's why so many. Yeah, that's why so many of these villains are wanting to replicate it. I mean, well, I guess Jensen was the one that made the heart, wasn't it?
right. I mean,
Wow.
he made the magnet, but remember he had the arc reactor back at home. He just miniaturized it, which is impressive, but if you invented the arc reactor, that would be so much better. And with this new element thing, his dad made it. He invented this new element, but he said the technology of my time can't.
Well, wait, now I'm already forgetting. Sorry, sometimes I'm forgetful. Who invented the arc reactor?
No
idea.
It was
both the Vanko's dad and Howard Stark.
Right.
It what? The giant one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right. We got some of that.
But like you said, that was supposed to, as Nick Fury explains, it's just supposed to be a stepping stone, and Tony was supposed to make it go further, and that's kind of what he does in Iron Man 1 when he puts it in his chest.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're like, no, that you just made that, but smaller. It's like you got to go even further beyond, and that's when we get onto the whole new element kind of arc, which I'm not particularly a fan of, but I could see how they wanted to, keep how to fix it, go beyond,
Yeah.
Plus Ultra, right. It's crazy. I don't know. It seems like
it sounds like Tony's dad probably should be the inventor of the arc reactor because that sets up the Ivan Vanko story. But as far as the new element goes, maybe that's where Tony should have stepped in and been like, maybe his dad only had a certain piece to it, but he was I guess they kind of did that. He was the one that was able to solve it.
Right. He just finished it basically, but the idea.
I mean, I guess that's still doing something. It's kind of like in Interstellar when they're trying to solve the equation for gravity or whatever it was called, the theory of gravity. There was a bunch of pieces to it, but Murph was the one that finished the puzzle, basically.
I guess so. Yeah, putting that one extra piece on the puzzle, the last piece on the puzzle. Good job, Murph. Good job, Anthony.
But
Man,
yeah, he has his suits.
yeah, he has his suits. That's all he needs, really.
But yeah, we get more of him
Well,
dying and drinking chlorophyll,
right, 80 ounces. Is it
and
this one?
then
I had a picture of uh Nicholas. Nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. I guess I don't
Peter,
have it.
what are you doing here?
Right. Well, yeah, Peter is at the
We don't
start
have to. No, no, no. We don't have to talk about that.
now.
we just jumped
No,
in time,
no,
everybody.
no, no.
Don't worry
Well, no,
about
no,
it.
no. Sorry. I wanted to talk about the
Rock'em sock'em
Now
rope'em
they know
fight.
we're in no shortage of flux capacitors, Steven.
right, sorry, I should have stopped screen sharing, but I have some pictures.
But yeah, we get Tony dying, drinking chlorophyll, and then he starts drinking a little something else.
Something stronger than chlorophyll.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
uh,
uh, I totally like this kind of like scene. It's a little cheesy at some points because it's like, you know, the CGI is very blatant, but at the same time it's like, you know, it's funny in the sense of, you know what's happening. You don't really get the sadness, the gravity of it.
Right.
But when Rhodey comes in to set matters straight, I was like, this is it. This is where the movie's picking up for me. Like this got me back into it because I'm just such a huge
Well,
fan of War Machine.
well, that's what I was gonna say. It's particularly a weak moment for Tony, as far as like what you were saying. It's kind of not as emotional as you want it to be because he's dying here, and it's that's a serious matter. But at the same time, it's kind of necessary for it to be a little light, uh, because it does make Rhodey shine so much. It gives him the spotlight. He's able to step in. So yeah, I can kind of see why they went the more uh, lighter route.
right. I mean, this suit itself is also amazing, which also begs to question that I saw in the background when Rhodey was putting on this suit is that Tony Stark had the Mach 1 in the background. How did he get the Mach 1 back?
I probably just made it again.
Did he
It's not
does
like
that
it's
have the same
expensive.
sentimental value? Like I was
Uh,
wondering, like, did he just like have to drive over, collect all the
well,
bits himself, or
doesn't the maybe he got it from the Ten Rings because the Ten Rings get it in Iron Man 1, and they
right?
reassemble
Yeah,
it.
that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, you know what it is? It's in the
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. There we go. It's with Ironmonger.
Obadiah. It was in
Yeah,
Obadiah, like lab under the arc reactor, which
Yeah,
exploded, but still.
even if he did have to recreate it, I wouldn't mind that either because I don't think he had any sentimental value. I mean, all he did really in it was watch his friend die and then blow up a bunch of dudes. So I
No, no,
wouldn't
you
mind if it's
understand.
just like a model car type of thing where he was just like, yeah, I'll recreate it and put it in the corner and never talk about it.
But that was just an interesting thought I saw in the background. But what I was getting at was that Tony was telling Rhodey, does he want to be Iron Man after Tony's dead? Because he was like, "You want it, take it." It wasn't really like a threat, like a challenge. It was
he
more
says
like,
you want to be the he says you want to be the War Machine.
right, right, right. You know, you don't want to be Iron Man. You don't want to copyright someone's. It'll be in poor taste,
Oh,
right?
but I think what Steven's talking about is Tony asking him, you want to be a sidekick or something like that.
No, no, no.
Doesn't
I
he
was
say that?
thinking, remember, this is still the part where Tony thinks he's gonna die for sure. Like in a matter of days, I'm gonna be gone. So when he was telling Rhodey, like, you want it, take it. Like, take the mantle of Iron Man / War Machine. Be whoever you want. But
Right.
after I'm gone, you're in charge. Basically, you're the superhero.
Yeah, I could see Tony doing that. He was in a low point here. I mean, he's fighting his friend, having a terrible birthday. Uh, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not a birthday unless you get a fight with your best friend and crap your pants.
Oh yeah, he peed himself. I don't think it was crap. Hopefully it wasn't crap.
I don't know. Pepper didn't say. She just. But yeah, I really
Who
like
who
that part.
cleans the suit is what I want to know.
Yeah.
Jarvis, 100%.
I'm sorry, Jarvis, aka Vision.
But yeah, then we get Nick Fury finally, in a movie, I think. Because, well, no, I guess he was in the movie of Iron Man, or was that?
No, that's not it. I cannot find Nick Fury in this. I'm gonna stop.
Yeah.
Where am I?
It was good to see Nick Fury back, but some of his lines weren't the best. I mean, he's Sam Jackson as usual. He's gonna have some quips, but I think for me it ended at "Would you please exit the donut?"
Really?
I totally think the he writes his own lines in there because I mean it's just Sam Jackson. That's the way he's going to operate. And I think he's had such an impact on the character because now, at first everyone was like, oh, he's doing the ultimate Nick. They're doing the ultimate Nick Fury back in Iron Man 1 and stuff like that. And now it's like Ultimate One is doing the Sam Jackson Nick Fury. And then even now it's just like, oh, the regular Nick Fury is pulling kind of the 616 version is pulling out the like look at him, come on, like he's a likable dude.
I found it.
Like this is did you close it again?
What? No, I don't know. I don't think I brought it up.
But, okay. Yeah.
But I mean, this character is wonderful. I love him. I love Phil Coulson that he comes along. He brings along Black Widow, Phil Coulson, and Shield. It's a giant shadow this guy carries around him.
I'm saying you turned off the screen share.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought it was purposeful.
Yeah.
No. Sorry. Hold up. Dang. Live shows.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember one of his lines that kind of
his whole explanation. He's not gonna have the biggest. No one's gonna remember like my favorite. Scene or whatever of Nick Fury out of all his scenes in the MCU is when in Iron Man 2. Like I didn't think we were gonna get him, but he's such a character with weight. He's such an important and vital character that to have him come in and deliver the Captain America shield to Iron Man, like he's just the guy with a pocket full of secrets, and he knows everything. He's the spy.
Well, that's why you got to keep one eye open.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's given us everything, and Sam Jackson playing Nick Fury. I still think even his early days, like you kind of still get that. You still kind of get that feeling from him.
I really like. Well, it's a question that I've been wondering because we talked a little bit about it on Incredible Hulk, but this is really where the tire meets the rubber, or however the saying goes. Where we know that Incredible Hulk happens during Iron Man 2, and if in Thor happens during Iron Man 2 and Incredible Hulk, that means a lot is happening in this one movie that you have to watch all three to really get the entire film.
Well, wait, actually, Thor and Hulk happen simultaneously, but doesn't the Hulk either takes place?
Iron Man 2 overlaps, I think, a lot with Incredible Hulk and Thor since they're happening simultaneously, but I don't think this one also falls simultaneously. I think it's just because they have a deadline to meet with Avengers, so they're trying to get everybody done until then. But that I don't think that they all happen exactly.
No, okay, yeah. So that's what it is Thor and Hulk happen simultaneously, but this happens before Thor. So
no, because remember in the ending where Tony Stark is being evaluated by the Avengers, in the background there's news footage about the Hulk
It's
in
the
college.
news footage at the college.
Right. It's
Okay.
very complicated, these three movies intermingling
Well, yeah,
together.
but Hulk, it was kind of a span of months almost.
Right. Yeah, of course, of course, of course.
And then by the end of Iron Man 2, they're only at the crater scene with Thor.
Well, not really, because
Well, no,
in
that's the post-credit scene.
well, Phil Coulson's when Iron Man was just beginning to open up Howard Stark's briefcase and looking at old film about the new element right before that, he says, I gotta
Yeah,
leave, so I'm gonna leave you. And then after Phil Coulson comes back and he says, and Tony was like, where have you been? And then he's about to
City,
build a new element.
City of Enchantment.
Right. And then he goes, well, I'm being dismissed. I'm going to New Mexico. Right. So right then, that's when the new end credit scene starts.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, I guess they are sort of taking place
This end credit scene.
concurrently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Uh,
Beautiful.
we're again skipping my man Rhodey as
I'm
he takes the Iron Man suit and just totally
boom. Look
hooks
at
it
it.
up with everything imaginable and getting it looking like I think this is I would say this is the best iteration of the War Machine suit. I mean, we'll touch upon it a little bit when we get into Civil War and all the other, and even Iron Man 3 and all that kind of stuff. But this, to me, this is exactly what War Machine looks like straight off the page.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
Well,
really...
before he gets all those guns, strapped on there, I was kind of curious why the Army. Well, wait, he's Air Force, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so why the Air Force was taking apart the suit and how were they able to do that? Like nobody's really supposed to know how these suits function. But anyway, that's just like a minor.
I think they know. I mean, I don't. I think they know like the basics. I just don't think that they know the specifics. And I mean, even Justin Hammer got close with the hemorrhoids. Like he's all like, here's a robot suit. I just don't know how they're supposed to work. I know.
Right.
I mean, like the hardware is the thing, but I think it's just the software and all that kind of stuff.
The power to it.
Yeah.
What powers it. That makes sense. But still, I don't know. I don't think it's like just opening the back of your phone and seeing the battery.
I wish I could look at the back of my phone. I have no idea how this thing works.
Exactly.
That's probably I think they opened it up to try to like duplicate Iron Man, trying to see the inner workings and how it
and then
is.
they were just like, nope, let's just use this one. Strap these guns on there.
Let's put some guns on it. Get a robot suit, put some guns on it.
Nick Fury actually talked about that to Tony Stark, where he said, your best friend just up and took it from you. He just took it from you. Don't you have protocols against that? And then Natasha Romanoff was like, yeah, he does have protocols that only he can use his suit. So Tony was letting Rhodey use his suit. He was allowing his best friend to become maybe, or I should say rather, replacing him.
I was gonna say that's probably why he left that there, just in case these Iron Man suits aren't just sitting there collecting dust, and evil runs rampant throughout the world. Somebody will be able to take on man.
Well, right. I took it more as those protocols not being active because it was his friend.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, well, that's what I'm saying is that he deactivated those protocols because it was his friend, because he wanted Rhodey to use it.
Well, no, I'm saying like they weren't even there to begin with, because once Rhodey steps into the suit, it has like the facial recognition. And so it just knows like no safety protocols are going to be switched on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Tony's one for that, He like we talked about even with Whiplash. He was on he was on top of the world. He wasn't thinking about that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm just saying that was my initial thought, but I like where you're headed with it. That that he wants somebody to take his legacy or continue his legacy.
But then don't worry, because Nick Fury and Shield have this special little antidote that has steroids or whatever, and basically cures him for the rest of the plot in order for him to steal his father's idea and create.
Nah, it only cures him. It only cures him enough to create the element that fixes everything.
Right. Well, not create the element. Recreate. Rediscover.
And create.
I'm a little confused because I'm not a rocket scientist, but from what I understand is that he has plutonium in his heart, which makes his heart body
palladium.
Huh?
Palladium, not plutonium.
Oh yeah, palladium. I almost missed that. Good catch.
What is palladium?
That's what he has in his heart.
Oh, okay. So he has that, which makes his body bad, and then this new element makes his body good, but yet still runs his heart better.
It's the problem is palladium wasn't a permanent solution. It was just, again, temporary one. It's this new element that now with it he doesn't have to replace the cartridges because they're like decaying and infecting and poisoning his body.
Palladium was the lime, but the new element was the coconut. Eh? Anybody?
I guess.
No?
I guess. I don't
well,
know.
no, I'm just saying. He says, yeah, it tastes like coconut in the middle.
Jeez Louise.
That was the weirdest line. That was like equivalent to Ant-Man in Civil War saying, anybody have any orange slices? Just like out of nowhere. But it was funny.
Well, that's just Disney trying to teach the kids to eat their vegetables subconsciously.
Oranges aren't vegetables, Steven. So,
yeah.
Well, oranges aren't, but orange slices, those are a healthy meal.
Right? Yeah, trying to be healthy. What was I gonna say? Dang it! Talking about orange slices made me confused. Oh,
he makes the element.
No, I was gonna say that scene with Rhodey chewing Tony Stark out and saying like, "Huh? Are you listening to me?" And then like Tony like looks at him and is dying, and then he's like, "Oh, geez, Tony, are you okay?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's what we were missing with the Rhodey, Terrence Howard. It's not like he didn't get an opportunity, first of all, and I don't blame him for that. But this whole relationship of he cares for him and he'd be like, you know what? Besides everything you've done, I still care about you and let me help you and care about you. I was like, oh man, that's the Rhodey and Tony Stark relationship I know.
I always wonder if we kept Terrence Howard. And I mean, I appreciate Don Cheadle and I'm glad we have him. But I always wonder what happens if we kept what would happen if we kept Terrence Howard. I mean, would we even have Empire still? Would Empire have gone up, or would Terrence Howard kind of be locked in with this multi-deal kind of contract that Disney always prescribes?
Well, let me. I'm gonna double check something because I thought Terrence Howard was kind of a little bit like a Affleck scenario where he kind of, I want to say he was struggling with.
I think it was just that he was asking maybe a little bit too much money, but I was just like that tripped me up because,
it could be that he does do Empire and he's War Machine, but because of Empire takes priority, like we don't get War Machine in Civil War. I mean, that could be crazy.
Yeah, I could see that definitely happening.
But
and plus, I mean, I think Don Cheadle does the line when he says, "I'll take it," and he's like, and Justin's like, "Which one?" All of it. Like Don Cheadle did that line pretty good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't exchange. I wouldn't exchange it.
Yeah, and he even did that other line when they were fighting. Sidekick this.
Oh yeah,
he's pretty great in this one, and I really like him. But Yeah, I don't think I would have it any other way.
So yeah, after we get some good fights and coconuts, we
Iron Man's
we get
back.
off.
He's better than ever, and he's got a triangle.
Yep, and we get off to the final act.
Is triangle. Boom.
So the
Okay.
final act, we find out that Venko has pretty much been using Hammer this whole time, which I really like because I always like it when uh, baddies don't play well with other baddies, and they usually are using them to their own means. Always works out in World's Finest with Joker and Luther. It works out here. So yeah, we find out that he's been amassing this army for himself to control, and we revisit the Stark Expo,
Yep.
and the Hammeroids are there.
And then
These are a lot better than some cheerleaders, is what he says.
Yeah, we get this weird funky dance that Justin Hammer does, which
I actually try to mimic that dance on a daily basis.
try to Spider-Man 3 walk it down the street. Just doing that hop step. Oh, it's terrible.
Hey, he got some James Brown moves in there. They were just, he's yeah, never mind.
Right. But right, sorry to interrupt. I just want to mention that dance. We cannot forget how terrible Justin Hammer is as a character.
Okay. We got it. It's noted.
Right. Noted. This guy, look at his dumb, stupid, ugly, three-piece back tie wearing suit.
You know the actor actually does that dance to like hype him up before scenes.
I wouldn't doubt it.
That's like genuine to the dude, and I'm like, yeah, like I respect it.
Right. Sorry, Chaz. You were talking about how you get the hemorrhoids out on the stage, and we also get our first look at Iron War Machine.
Yeah. And he's got the minigun action going on, which is what Tim was kind of getting to with his comparison to the Civil War suit. Because I believe in Civil War, it's just I don't want to say laser cannon, but it's almost a laser cannon.
Yeah, which I kind of get. Minigun, you gotta restock and do all that. Cannon, not so much. And we also get to see the Mark 6 armor, with both War Machine and the Mark 6 armor, kind of up there together. And I feel Mark 6 armor isn't necessarily my favorite. I appreciate the iconic arc reactor circle, unibeam, whatever, on the chest, but Mark 6 isn't that bad otherwise stylized. It kind of has the sleekness to it with still kind of having the bulk of armor to it. But War Machine knocks it out of the park, I think. And for them to then have that whole flying chase scene where all the other ones go haywire and stuff like that, it was kind of getting cool to me. I mean, not once it hits the climactic fight in the garden, that's when it, yeah.
I'm sort of a fan of the triangle arc reactor look. Yeah, Mark 6 look. I do prefer his I don't know what mark it is, but his suit, his Age of Ultron suit. However, the CGI wasn't as strong, I feel, in Age of Ultron for Iron Man suit in particular. But yeah, I'm a fan of the hexagon chest piece. But anyway, yeah, what I noticed about these movies, because again, we've seen all of these movies, and we're going back, bringing it back, throwing it back. I noticed that both Tony's suit and War Machine's suits are a lot bulkier. They look heavy, and they look thick and
And
solid.
they make robot suits every other second. Robot
Oh yeah,
sound.
the sounds.
Robot
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah, that got annoying. Um, but yeah, I actually prefer the bulkier look because it looks like something a human could actually fit in. I think that in some of the later renditions, it's kind of a little too close to the chest, you could say, like literally, and too slim, I guess, of a look. Like I feel like if he got punched, that a fist would just go like straight into his ribs, and he would just break every bone in his body, or metal would he would get more shrapnel, which wouldn't help his situation. But yeah, that's what I noticed.
I agree
If
with
you,
you. It's a problem really, because it feels like this is more of a prop. This is something that a man in a suit does instead of a man who just puts a spandex suit on and is like, I'm Iron Man, and you're like, barely. And it's the decline of his movies, or I should say, of the Iron Man suits as the increase of his movies began. I mean, it's hard to do, I assume, to probably make sort of a realistic, as best as you can, idea of a real life Iron Man suit. And then they're like, you know what? Let's just not do that and make it as easy as possible and worry about other things. And if that's the price we pay, that's the price we pay. I would rather have a sucky Iron Man suit than not have anything else in the movie, sacrifice something else in the movie. I mean, hey, man, don't get too attached to things, you know?
good callback.
Thank you.
But yeah, we get to the last battle, and we get all the hemorrhoids surrounding them. They shred through those hemorrhoids. War Machine pulls out that minigun that we were talking about, and I
Mm.
think it's a lot more effective than his Civil War cannon. He shreds through them in like 2 seconds, which kind of goes back to what Steven was saying about Iron Man uh, going through his villains too fast.
And
Um,
we also get Black Widow throwing down
Right.
all
oh
of
yeah,
the hammers.
This one.
Yeah, yeah.
That scene is pretty spectacular. Mainly because you get a
Agents of
comparison,
Shield before Agents of Shield.
right?
right.
You kind of get a comparison of a regular human being with happy Jon Favreau punching like, oh, okay, this is how a normal fight goes, and then you're like, nah, 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 nah. Look at how Agent of Shield, Russian Assassin, Black Widow does this, taking on 20 guys using nothing but like a piece of string and some tasers and some smoke, like all the essentials of a spy, and she just cruises through this entire complex.
And then, yeah, that scene was great and also really comedic because she goes through like I think like 4 or 5 guys, and Happy's still dealing with one.
The
Um,
the only problem I had about it was with her hair. Somehow her hair in the scene seemed like wet for some reason, or like
got
too
spaghetti
long.
hair.
Spaghetti hair. It was just too long, maybe. I guess I don't know. But that was really the only problem. But the funniest part for me in this movie, I know you said yours, Chaz, but when she like just slowly walks and then just raises her hand without looking and maces that one guy coming out. Just like he has no idea what's going on, just got maced. It's like balls on the floor, hilarious. Sorry.
What? Oh no.
But right. So that's going on while Pepper Potts is trying to do nothing really. I don't think she called the cops, which is really what any human who doesn't have any combat skills to do, call the cops. She called
Yeah, I
she
mean,
did her job.
think of how many other superhero movies would go better for the hero if somebody called the cops. if, if somebody kind of like, oh yeah, why don't we call the cops? Oh yeah, why don't we do that? Who
Pepper
knows?
Potts.
Maybe Justin. If she didn't do that, who knows? Maybe Justin Hammer would have gotten away.
Right. Who knows? He probably would have snuck away while she was too busy trying to hack back into Rhodey's um,
Suit.
suit. Right. That mid That chase scene though was pretty awesome between Rhodey and Iron Man and all the other suits, them just flying around,
Oh yeah,
which I thought was weird because like, why didn't you leave the Stark Expo?
yeah, glass shattering all over people.
You know, I'm sure somebody had their eyes open, looking up, trying to get a glimpse of Iron Man, and got some glass in their eye. It's it was a little weird for Iron Man. That was his plan, but like, yeah, let me just fly around, give you guys a tour, and then, but uh, luckily Natasha Romanoff hacks back into Rhodey's suit. Man, I don't know why I'm not remembering his name. And yeah, you can have the suit back, is what he says.
Yeah, and then
Oh yeah, and then what?
we get Whiplash 2.0.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
that's what I was gonna get into.
Whiplash.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the Crimson Dynamo look because before this film came out, at least I'm pretty sure it was before. I'm almost positive it was. There was this comic book where Whiplash sort of looked like how he looks in the movie with the exosuit. It's just a little bit more armored. He has armor on one arm and like solidly covered armor on one arm, and then he's wearing a armored mask. It kind of looks like a hockey mask, but it's more heavy duty. So yeah, I was sort of expecting something like that, but then he comes down in this giant suit. Uh, and again, it was sort of like a mashup of Crimson Dynamo, which made sense because his character was already Russian. So it was cool to see, but I think they should have just kept it um, minimal because then they could have saved money because it looked like the CGI wasn't 100% with Crimson, well, not Crimson Dynamo, with Whiplash 2.0. It looked like it could have used a little bit more work had they have gone more minimalistic with it and just upgraded the suit he was already using, which probably would have been more functional. He could have moved around more. Um, they probably would have not only saved money, but like I said, he would have been able to move around more and do
I was
more fights.
I was gonna say they also fit that in story wise when Tony corrects him and says you could have doubled the cycles had more power. So necessarily he didn't. There wasn't anything wrong with like defensive wise. He didn't need to add a bunch of armor to it. He just wanted he just needed more power, so he doubled the cycles. And to so I agree with you that maybe his look could have been done, but I mean when you kind of see Iron Man, I think almost all his villains are just giant robots, really.
Especially in this movie, it's nothing but giant robots. And I'm wondering if Whiplash 2.0's suit was bigger than Obadiah's suit in Iron Man 1, because it seemed really big. It seemed huge.
Well, I mean, uh, Obadiah like fit in it Hulkbuster style with the Ironmonger. This one you kind of saw his head sticking out.
That's true.
So
That's true. But that, I mean, how long did it take for them to just get beat up once, both him and War Machine, and then be like, "Oh, he's got us on the ropes"? Yeah. Okay, you want to wrap up this movie? Yeah, I do want to wrap up this movie. And
put
it was,
your put your hand up if you're done with this movie.
yeah.
Raise your hand if you're done with this movie.
Everybody in the audience, put your hands up. Yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
I agree. I agree. This movie's it feels like maybe the whole point of it is just world building. And I think that's kind of a flaw that we get with some of these sequels, because it's just a timetable rush toward Avengers and the next team up and stuff like that. But I think with Iron Man 2, there's enough iconic characters and likable characters like Black Widow, Nick Fury, Whiplash, War Machine, that I think it still maintains a good a good solid movie, in my opinion.
All right. So, negative zone.
Uh,
Yeah, well, yeah, we could rate, or we could see what we thought of the movie.
okay.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I almost skipped over that.
Oh, son of a. All right, I'm just gonna. Well, hold up. I was gonna say there's one more. This guy.
Well, we don't have to.
Oh yeah.
The it's either
Go ahead.
I know they confirmed it really, but someone also put that this could be the bank robber in Homecoming grown up.
Oh really?
No, 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 Doc.
What?
No,
I thought you were gonna say Spider-Man.
no. Well, it is Spider-Man. That's Peter Parker.
You say that like it's a fact. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
they
Ever since
they said they quote unquote confirmed it in like in an interview, saying like, yeah, that's Spider-Man and Iron Man 2.
we planned
Which,
it
I
all
mean,
along. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like, there's no indication that this is Peter Parker, especially because they didn't even know that they could have Peter Parker, nor that they, would think that they were going to do him the young version, and that he was going to be a kind of a student slash, what's it called?
Apprentice?
Apprentice, yeah, to Iron Man. Uh, I think it was just, them mentioning like after the fact, some fan, just as ourselves, went back and rewatched Iron Man 2 and was like, who knows, maybe that's Peter Parker. And then when they heard of that, they were like, yeah, of course, that is Peter.
Well, remember, Tim, you said Disney doesn't do any mistakes. Disney.
Exactly. So to have this opportunity to even add more, truth to that, add more concrete to that, you know, belief, they took it, because there's almost nothing that necessarily says that this is the Peter Parker in the MCU.
Right, absolutely
Like,
nothing because
we don't even see a parent with this
right,
kid. Not necessarily saying Peter's parents should be alive during this point, which,
unless
maybe they are, but we don't even, yeah, nothing. No aunt, no
oh
uncle, no father, no
Yeah.
mother.
Maybe that's the point, though. They were already getting ready to buy the world.
well, I was gonna say
Um,
there were a lot of explosions at the Start Expo. Missiles were going off like through thousands of hemorrhoids. Uh, Maybe Peter Parker was with his parents there, and he got separated, and maybe they were killed in the explosion at the Start Expo. And this is the time where he goes to live with Aunt May.
that's pretty crazy. Then I
Yeah,
feel like he would want vengeance on Ivan Vanko, and he would never get it.
right. Okay.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
you ready?
let's rate this movie. I'm gonna leave this up.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, I like it.
Is that him flying around from the bad hammer roids, or
The
is that when he
hemorrhoid. Yeah,
dropping in for the first Stark Expo? Because that was also a good scene I liked.
yeah, we talked about that scene, Tim.
Okay.
Also, Pepper Potts is allergic to strawberries, apparently, that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little fun fact. All right, sorry. Who wants to go
All right.
first? Tim or Chaz? Doc.
Um, for me, this movie, like Tim said, it has a lot of really compelling characters. Well, not a lot, but we get the main core, which is Tony and Rhodey. Pepper, not so much. She was kind of iffy. In fact, we didn't really talk about Pepper too much, but um, this was definitely Pepper's weakest film, I would say, out of the trilogy. Um, but then we also get Black Widow, and that's probably why Pepper was a little bit weaker, just because the way she was written. They had to make room for Black Widow. So yeah, we get Black Widow, and I would say it's a fairly good start for her character. Again, nothing against Black Widow as a character, but I do think Scarlett Johansson's performance was just a little bit robotic, but she was still getting into the whole action thing. This was her start into that realm. And then, of course, we get Sam Jackson, and I think this movie, the story is compelling enough. You have a pretty convincing villain. His motives are all there. Um, there's a lot of minor things I have problems with, but there's also, uh, this movie has flaws. So I'm gonna have to give it. I think I probably should have wrote it down beforehand. I think I gave Hulk 3.5 Infinity Stones, which I don't know if I can do that, but I did. I'm gonna have to give this one three solid,
Whoa,
3 gems. Yeah.
geez, that's slow.
Well, for me, I don't know. Like
No, no, no.
It's fair.
rating
It's fair.
something 1 out of 6. Like it's kind of difficult. It's kind of weird. Usually,
Yeah.
it's like 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10. So
We agreed upon this.
no,
No
I
drama.
know. I'm just saying that for me, in my mind, that makes sense. That 3
Right.
would be
Yeah,
the
3 is
best
fair.
one.
Three's fair. Well, my rating of this movie is, well, I came into this movie thinking I was gonna bash it. I thought, Iron Man, after Iron Man 1, all of the second one and the third one sucks. I thought this movie was gonna blow, and then I rewatched it, and then I took some notes, and I delved into it, and talking with YouTube. It's a really great film that shows just a common guy who's a billionaire struggling to live life and trying to see who holds on to his legacy when he has nobody. Of course, all I have to say are the names. War Machine, fantastic, beautiful. Can't say nothing bad about this guy. The suit in itself is great. Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, was good, I guess, but it's her first film, so I don't put it against her. But I love Nick Fury and Black Widow and Phil Coulson coming into this movie. Pepper Potts, love her. I'm just going namely based on the faces I see on this poster right now. But no, it's really the fact that it's a character trying to have an inner war with himself, I guess you can say. So I really liked the movie at the end of it. It was a really great film. So my rating, geez Louise, I only remember what I gave Incredible Hulk's rating. I thought, do you guys remember? I think you guys remember.
Oh, we all remember.
Please
We
don't
No,
yell in my ear.
it's not that great of a film. No. I would say I would give this film 4 out of 6 Infinity Stones. I mean, truth be told, I'm shocked too, but I mean, it really turned itself around on me. Really snuck up on under me. Tim?
For me, I think Jon Favreau he remains consistent from Iron Man 1 into Iron Man 2. I understand some people might have some problems with the pacing, but it feels like it fits right for the movie as we're introduced to a plethora of new characters, new and interesting characters that we need to, that fit into the whole plan of the MCU. And I could understand how that might get kind of frustrating for Jon Favreau to have all these kind of like, things shoved into his comprehensive story, which might have been fine without him. But I feel like at the same time, it's almost necessary to get to the point where we are now, as we're gearing toward Infinity War, hashtag Journey to Infinity. But yeah, I would say the only problem is that this movie's called Iron Man 2 and not War Machine. So for that, I think I'm going to give it 5 out of 6.
Wow.
Wow,
I'm
the
giving it the same.
highest.
I'm giving it the same. Well, not the highest. I'm giving the highest out of the 3.
Yeah, out of 3 of us.
Yeah, I'm giving it the same rating as I did Iron Man. Again, it all depends on rewatchability to me. And if I see this thing pop up on the television, I keep it going. It doesn't matter if I'm halfway in or we're in the final act. I'll watch it till the credits roll again. But yeah, I think Favreau really kind of is able to find the spirit of and the tone of Iron Man, and kind of just makes it enjoyable for everyone.
That's well said. Well, we've said our thoughts, but now it's time to peer into the negative zone. All right, who's got what?
Uh, why don't you go ahead and
All
lead with
right,
yours?
all right. So I got Greg Yolen, April 27th, 2010. 4 out of 10. It was, first of all, let me pretend that it was really hard to find any negative comments on this movie.
Which is
Really?
which is surprising.
No,
Which
no,
is
I'm
surprising
joking.
because I
It
know.
was super easy. It was super easy.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I was gonna.
I
Yeah,
know. I was fixing to say. I thought people like trashed this movie.
no, plethora of people.
Okay,
So
which
right,
is unfair, but yeah, let's
right,
get on with it.
4 out of 10. Iron Man 2, a colossal letdown. Summer blockbuster season always brings up with it at least one big disappointment. This year, it's Iron Man 2, a classic sequel in the worst sense. We've got more villains, more heroes, more money in the budget, and none of it amounts to uh, an experience that comes to even close to what the predecessor, which stood out in 2008 as smart counter programming in the summer dominated by The Dark Knight. The problems with Iron Man 2 are bone deep, but they manifest themselves everywhere on the surface. While the first film focuses neatly on Tony and his development from careless um, and honorable hero, this sequel gives him nowhere to go. And at some point in the filming, director Jon Favreau must have realized this, hence his new. Uh, well, that goes on to Jon Favreau's thing, but Tony is all but discarded as a dynamic character, and it becomes very clearly, very early, that without the original centric arc, and I ain't talking arc reactor, heyo, that's really what he said, there's really not much novel about this franchise. Which, I mean, he's right. They had more villains, they had more heroes. It's they had more money, and yet this film suffered from it.
Well, I wouldn't say it suffered from it. Uh,
You gave it at a 3 out of 6, Doc. I don't know what you're just talking about.
hey,
That's fair.
that's
That's
50. Yeah. Um, because the characters were good. It's just maybe I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't disagree with him about what he said about Tony Stark going really nowhere. Even though, I mean, he did sort of have an arc in this movie with him dying and everything. Um, but I kind of think that was a little bit rushed because it did kind of set up failure for the third film because they had nowhere to take that
right.
afterwards. Um, so yeah, but I disagree with him that uh, the characters and just because you have the money or whatever make it bigger and better or whatever. I disagree with him there because it seemed like it was organic for these characters to come into this film.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I could definitely see this coming. Seeing this movie as not a comic book fan, and just being like, wait, who's this spy lady? And then we have this spy guy from, I think is like, you might have not seen if you didn't stay for the end credits of Iron Man, right?
Right.
No, wait, that one's in the movie, right? That's at the end of the movie. Yeah, yeah. So
Oh yeah, you're thinking of Hulk.
yeah, Hulk is that one, so that's one. Um, but and then also War Machine gets introduced, but it's all these kind of characters that aren't really, you know, they don't outright say this is I'm a character and I'm important, or I'm going to be back in the future. So I could see how it was like, wait, what is this, like Iron Man and Friends? Is that what these movies are going to be now? So yeah, I could kind of see the problems with it, but definitely it doesn't hinder the movie at all. I think
All right. You got one?
I do. It is dated from October 4th, 2010. It's just from movie fans, so I'm going to call him Nigel. So Nigel, he says, "What a letdown! I thought the first movie was pretty good, except for the fact that Iron Man gets his ass kicked by the bad guy and then defeats him without the need of his Iron Man powers. The action scenes were boilerplate stuff. Nothing special. The final battle was short and lame, and Downey's character was just plain annoying throughout the movie. And yes, once again, Iron Man could not beat the bad guy with his Iron Man suit. He needs help this time around. Glad I waited to rent it." And I think that's what most people did in this instance, is that they might have not gone seen Iron Man out in theaters, because this was the sequel. Like, it wasn't the with Iron Man 1, this was kind of reaching all audiences and this big kind of like brand new thing. And then here comes the sequel along, and everyone kind of jumps on, uh, you know the people that enjoyed it did, but then the other ones that were kind of let down from the first one, they weren't going to continue with it, and that's what Nigel does here. He wasn't a fan of that much of the first one, and he's not that much fan of a second one. So, and no surprise there. This movie is kind of in the same vein as that, and
Well, I
can't.
was gonna say with Nigel, he mentioned the whole part about which we agree with. We actually agree with Nigel that it's just too easy for Iron Man to defeat his villains. But I really didn't even notice that he doesn't. Well, he kind of does use his Iron Man suit in this one to defeat his villain. Of course, he needs help, but we want the help of War Machine because he's
Yeah,
awesome looking.
yeah, totally agree.
I have one from Ben Stiller. No relation, I assume. April 30th, 2010. 4 out of 10. Very much let down. Not as much as an impact as the first one. There's just too many robots, and it takes away from the whole Iron Man is something special element. Everyone is an Iron Man in this. Um, I don't know how to say his last name.
Rourke.
Mickey Rourke is good though. He's always enjoyable to look at. Was very annoyed when they turned the whole virus into some sort of illness that can be cured with a new element. What? War Machine is not believable. He looks like he's about to cry in every scene. Paltrow overreacting. This is a Spider-Man 3 syndrome.
Wait, back up. Who did they say was overreacting?
Paltrow, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Over. Oh no, it's not. Oh, it's overacting.
Yeah, either way.
Yeah. Like Doc said, she was kind of written off. So the parts that she did, she brought her A game, and was it kind of a bit over the top, perhaps? But I mean, she wanted to play her part to the best of her ability.
Right. I mean,
I don't know. It was kind of like a J-Law scenario where, to me, it didn't seem like the best of her ability.
Right.
I agree with Rourke. The amount of what's it called, research and dedication that he put into the man. Now you're having me forget his name.
Ivan.
Vankov.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ivan. The Ivan character, Whiplash, was really great. I mean, he even he made sure that he got authentic Russian tattoos from all these different syndicates and stuff you'd get in incarceration and all that. And he also wanted to get to the rhythm right of the the whips and all that in the combat.
Right, and he also wanted to get his bird.
Which, by the way, the one thing I forgot to mention regarding his character, Rourke's character, is even though he had that weak opening in the very beginning, I was very pleased with his acting. I mean, he probably did the best Russian accent out of the MCU, because later on we get the twins, and for me, they were, we'll talk about that later. But
there's Sokovian, the difference. There's a slight difference.
Well, not really. To me, not really, because even though it's fictional, I mean, there's a correlation, obviously.
What? Fictional. Is here about the person wanting to pay money to a journalist to ask the president about the U.S. relations with Wakanda?
Oh my gosh!
He was like, "I'll pay you money if you seriously ask him that question, because I want to hear what he has to say."
I would pay money.
I say we do the same thing with Sokovia. Throw Sokovia in there. Find out what's going on. Well, how's that whole UN meeting? Where's the Sokovia chair in the UN?
But yeah, Gwyeth Paltrow, I don't even know how to pronounce her last name. I've never known. Paltrow.
Yeah.
Even her name. Anyway, she, like in our day and age where women are finally, getting their due in films and everything and getting these stronger roles, this role was just like the complete opposite of her sort of whining at the car race scene and not knowing what to do with Tony's suit. I remember when we were rewatching it, I was just like, just throw it, just hurry up and do it. So yeah, a lot of overreacting, a lot of overacting, and
overreacting acting.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, she is a powerful CEO of I'm gonna say Wayne Enterprises, but it's Stark Enterprises. That's his name. So I would give it her that. She's pretty great. She's running the company. She's, she has to babysit Tony Stark a lot, but
it's Stark Industries, not Stark Enterprises.
Is it? Okay, sorry.
I mean, it might be Stark Enterprises after the third film.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's made CEO in this movie. We didn't even talk. What are you talking about, all these female weak roles? She gets to become CEO.
I just talked about that, Tim.
Well, but she doesn't... She's not really dependent, though. I mean, independent.
Anyways.
You basically ran the company before. I'm just saying.
Okay.
So, tell us your thoughts in the comments below.
Talk about debating. Yeah, I was going to say, mention the... Yeah.
I got one. Do you got one, Tim, or? It's okay if you don't. I got one. All right.
I like this movie too much. I couldn't dwell on the negative comments.
It's
this negative zone. This space is getting.
Yeah, it's this name I cannot pronounce. Tim, give me a name.
Give you a name?
Yeah, I can't pronounce it.
Gordon.
Schmiebowitz. Gordon Schmiebowitz.
Gordon. Okay, Gordon. On May the 7th, gave it a 4 out of 10, saying it's boring, lame, predictable, and cliche, etc. The problem is, when I think about a comic book movies, I have this high expectation because the comic book has so much material to build on, so I assume the movie will be amazing, and apart from a few, most of them are disappointing. I'm not a huge comic book person, but I know a bit about them to know how bad these films always end up being. I suppose, all right. He says, to go further on, few things that annoy me. If Ivan manages to beat up Iron Man so easily in his poorly funded garage project, I assume killing Ivan later on when he gets a whole new armor would be quite a workout for Iron Man and his sidekick, but the final showdown between them was short and just too easy. I'm sure there were more points, but I just can't break my head over it. Honestly, Robert Downey Jr. did a good job playing Tony Stark, but the movie was just too big, boring, lame, and predictable, cliche, etc., that his decent act couldn't save it for me.
I won't
Yeah.
disagree on predictable, but then again, was this movie supposed to be a mystery?
I was gonna say it's straightforward even from the trailers. You have Whiplash show up. You can kind of see he gets captured, and then all of a sudden he somehow, which we find in the movie, he gets a robot army, and then that robot army gets, you know, attacks War Machine and Iron Man, and then next thing you know, Whiplash shows up in a robot suit, all in the trailers. So I think if anything, this was again the whole point of it was to be world building with Black Widow and Nick Fury. And even with Agent Coulson, Clark Gregg, again, having another debut in the MCU films.
Yeah.
So
I think.
I can't.
Oh, what?
Go ahead.
Sorry, no, I interrupted.
I was just gonna say, so that in the sense that we. Oh man.
All right, Jesus.
It's cool. No, all I was gonna say. Sorry, I made you lose your train of thought. All I was gonna say is I think some people have gotten kind of spoiled to getting movies like Empire Strikes Back and The Dark Knight, that they expect everything to be this sort of big epic with a mystery and a huge twist at the end or in the middle, whatever, second act, third act. But some things are just straightforward, like you said, and then other things actually defy expectations, which is what The Last Jedi recently did. And I'm hoping Infinity War kind of does the same thing, where you have these tourists, these filmmakers, and they hear everything that people are saying, and then instead of playing into it, they go against the tide of the masses. And I think that's really cool, just in our day and age where social media is so prevalent and people, their voices are heard more easily, and so they feel like they have the right to complain.
Very interesting. I got last one probably we're going to do. J.C. Duggar, May 10th, 2010. First ever 1 out of 10 out of all these. 1 out of 10. There's a turd in the punch bowl. I repeat, there's a turd in the punch bowl. I don't know why he needs a repeating. This movie is an example of everything wrong with Hollywood and, unfortunately, humans in general. In my opinion, there has only been one comic book movie worthy of a 10 rating, and that was Batman Begins. Iron Man 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, apparently. Iron Man 2 falls woefully short of that standard. A big step back from Iron Man 1 even. Don't let the fancy CGI and big explosions fool you. This is a clunker. Thank you for reading, JD. I was like, oh, okay, well, very nice of him. Sign off like he did, but
we've been noticing a lot of comparisons with towards Batman and the Dark Knight kind of trilogy. I definitely don't think that these movies kind of fit into that caliber. These guys, these guys are cut from a different cloth. Marvel and DC, not every character arc / story arc. Not the hero doesn't undergo this huge revelation and gets to become his own, as much as the Dark Knight and Batman Begins. We do get, however, a sense of that, if going along with the subtext in Iron Man 2, where again we have this demon in a bottle kind of a spirit within the film. And I think if if you're not picking up on it, it falls flat. However, if you're kind of in tune with the movie and kind of seeing what Favreau laid, underneath all this kind of Disney Avengers slash, um, you know,
CGI vomit.
yeah. That we get to see Tony, kind of in this dip in the roller coaster.
Right. All right. Well, let's leave JC Duggar and his turd punch bowl. Let's get out of the negative. I don't know what's wrong with that dude. Yeah, let me get back. Jeez. All right, there you go. So that's Iron Man 2. I hope you guys enjoy everything. I mean, I'm sure this movie surprised you as it surprised me of how great this film is.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Please let us know down in the comments what are your favorite parts of Iron Man 2. Are there some parts you disagree with us? We definitely like hearing your feedback. It's what makes this show better, and we get to come together as a community and celebrate this. Even though we hash on it sometimes, we appreciate everything the Marvel Cinematic Universe has given us.
Right. As I guess there's only the announcement that we have to do.
The announcement.
What?
Yeah.
Announcement.
Yeah.
Announcement. Oh, announcement.
All right, shut up. Everybody.
Do it.
Watchers Week welcomes you to our giveaway. You could win a Walmart exclusive Black Panther Marvel Legends. And here's how to enter. First rule is you have to follow us on Instagram at Watchers Week. That's really easy. The second rule is to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which you're already here. So might as well hit that subscribe button wherever it is. I have no idea. And number 3 is that soon, by the time this video comes out, we'll have a post about the giveaway, and you comment on that post your YouTube channel's name that you subscribed with. The winner will be announced during our Black Panther episode on YouTube, so be sure to listen in to find out if you get this exclusive figure. So that's big news. Big news to all you Marvel Legends fan figures out there. We're giving away that pink vibranium suited Black Panther free. Unfortunately, US only. We are not that big enough to be shipping internationally to our fans, but we know you're out there.
All right, yeah, hit us up in the comments if you're an international fan,
And then if we get enough, then we'll do an international giveaway. Exclusive international. But for now, US only, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is not only if you're a fan of action figures, but if you're also a fan of Black Panther, this is something cool to have in your collection. It is an exclusive, so that means there's not that many technically out there. And with how great it is, it's gonna be picked up from everybody else that knows a good item when they see it, a good piece of comic book memorabilia.
Yeah, they're already going pretty quick at my local Walmart.
From you?
Yeah. Oh, what? Oh, yeah. No.
Just from you.
But yeah, it only takes really just 2 buttons and then that comment. But just do it. Hit those 2 buttons. Just do it for science, and you can trust me because I'm a doctor. So, yeah.
Trust your doctor, kids. Eat your orange slices and coconuts. And subscribe. All right. Tim, where can they find you? Because we'll all post this on our Instagram. We'll all post about the giveaway to spread the word to get as many people as possible.
They could even have their mom subscribe. I don't care. Just, getting a free figure.
Set us up specifically, really.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Fishbone Malone on Instagram. There we talk about comic books and also movies and comic book movies. So, yeah, continue on the conversation, over on my page.
And Doc, where can they get your medical advice?
You can receive such advices on exclusively on Instagram at Dr. Cosmic, and that's Cosmic spelled Kozmic. Yeah, I post pretty cool fig pics there, figure art pics, but also figure arts coming pretty soon. Yeah, ACBA, you know it. Marvel Legends, got some Star Wars The Black Series, and I'll also be posting about that giveaway.
Yeah. You can find me at _nerdtron. Right now, I'm mainly into the mobile game Marvel's Contest of Champions, so that's what I'm mainly doing. You can find the alliance where I'm leading is the which one? Dang it.
SKK.
SKK, thank you. Skull Kill Crew. Right, that's it. Slipped out of the tongue. Bad leader. Won't happen again. But yeah, I'll post mainly about that. I'm getting into figures myself, but they're a little small. Some would say they're a little miniature, but that's for later. Yeah, the giveaway is something exciting we're doing. We're proud of it. And we hope that you guys do these small little things we ask in order to enter. I mean, we try to make it as easy as possible for you guys because we want you to give something to you.
Would you say, excuse me, sir, would you say they're like little minis, mate?
Yeah, I would say that they're little mini mates. Yeah.
Someone's got to get this figure. Someone's got to pick it up, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
we lost the receipt. We can't return it. Someone's got to
seriously,
take it home.
I stole it. I mean, I didn't really do that. No. But yeah. What's next week? What's next week's podcast?
Well, it's actually this upcoming Friday.
Yeah, it's Thor, right?
Yep.
It's Thor. So it's Thor, the God of Thunder, Prince of Asgard, coming to you soon. But for now, we'll give you a goodbye from all of us on Watchers Week. We hope you have a lovely day. Keep on watching. We'll keep on listening, and we'll all keep laughing together.